What's going on? David Feldman-Makrias here again, and we're talking about weird stuff with Google Analytics 4. Anybody that is experiencing weird stuff in Google Analytics 4, you are not alone. This is happening, I think, all over the place. I think Google Analytics 4 is good in theory. I just don't think all the bugs and kinks are worked out yet, and we're finding things just as we're perusing through the interface. So, what I like to do as an advertiser is look at analytics. And right now I'm in GA4 for one of our e-commerce clients. Now, I like the acquisition reports because that shows you how our traffic is doing. And I want to show you something that's a little weird and how we've managed to identify what we think, at least, is how to fix it. So, when we go to the acquisition report and we go to the sub report traffic acquisition, I changed our session to source medium, our dimension rather to source medium. And that gives you everything. And we've configured a total revenue through Google Analytics 4 already. And we're tracking revenue. And we have $8,700 here for the month of August. Now, what's weird is I'm going to show you a different report for the same date range inside the same Google Analytics 4 account that shows a different revenue, and I'm going to try to explain why. Okay, so literally I am looking at a Google Analytics account, the same one, same client, same date range. And notice that when I go, instead of my acquisition overview, right, I'm in my monetization e-commerce purchases. And I notice that my item revenue is 11,599. But when I go back to analytics, traffic acquisition, this reads 8,700 for the same time frame. You would think item revenue is less than total revenue, but in this case, it's more because when we look at this, item revenue is defined by the total revenue from items only minus refunds, excluding tax and shipping, when total revenue is just supposed to be the sum of revenue from purchases. So you would think total revenue is more for this date range, but it's less for this date range. And we went, why is that? And even with the items purchased, it says 58 items purchased. And when we go back to the traffic acquisition report, we see purchases 33. Now, this could be purchase events, right? And that's what we think. It's purchase events. So if someone's buying more than one item, that makes sense. That means the average is a little less than 2 items per person, which is a little bit high from our historical average. So that kind of leads me to believe, I wonder if that's correct either. So what do we do about this, right? Because we want to be able to utilize the different reports, and we want to be able to trust Google Analytics 4, considering this is what we have to go off of as a main source of tracking. Obviously, if you're using other third-party attribution, which is going to be a big deal now, Northbeam, Triple Whale, Leads RX, if you're doing lead gen, etc., then maybe Google Analytics really isn't an issue. But if you're working with other vendors and you're working with other agencies and you're trying to have a standard measuring system that a lot of industries use, Google Analytics is pretty important. So I think it's important to make it work right. So what are we going to do about this, and what have we tested? Well, let me get into that right now. Okay, so what I have pulled up right now is Google Tag Manager. And the reason is because this is where we set up our Google Analytics 4 event configurations. We had done this before the setup migration was from UA3, or I should say GA3, Universal Analytics, or UA, to Google Analytics 4. So basically what we're looking at right now is a custom Google Analytics 4 GA4 event. Note that this client is currently migrating from a WordPress platform to Shopify. So the way we have this set up may not match your configuration exactly, but you should be able to denote and delineate some problem-solving techniques from it. So when I look at this, we have all of our event parameters set up. Now, one thing that was new that wasn't here when we originally created the event, and unfortunately we did not know about until we just kind of clicked around, was if we go to the triggering, no, it's not in the triggering. It's actually in the tag configuration. When I hit the tag configuration, and then I have to click this drop down, more settings, e-commerce, send e-commerce data. So our theory is this is very similar to Google Analytics 3 or UA's enhanced e-commerce. So we're thinking that's what that is. And it does make sense because this is all GA4 events. So if we were to send this e-commerce data similar to how we actually had in enhanced e-commerce in UA3, I'm sorry, UA GA3, then we should see all the e-commerce data in the actual e-commerce purchase section of the monetization report, and this would be relevant for analysis, right? So again, one of those weird settings that we found for e-commerce specifically, it helps to poke around, see what's going on. We still get blurbs all the time that we're not fully set up, but we're also testing, which I'll show in another video, about which settings we actually want to test in GA4 and does it actually help our overall data. So with that, I hope this brings some insight, especially anybody in the e-commerce space finding discrepancies in their Google Analytics 4 reports. This should at least help that. I definitely recommend to do that through GTM if you haven't already. And that's it. If you guys like this video, please give me a thumbs up if it helped you at all. Like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you in the next one. Thanks so much.